evening, we bring you the latest in the world of sports. I'm Diego Dario.
We give you the conversations you want to hear from your favorite icons and athletes. I'm Sam Corrales, and in tonight's game plan, we'll break down the keys to winning for Gilas Pilipinas in their matchup against Lebanon in the FIBA Basketball World Cup Asian Qualifiers.
We'll also list down the top 3 player matchups to watch in the ongoing PBA Philippine Cup Finals. And we'll take a look at the highlights of the Philippines in their match against China. Buckle up, sports fans. Let's get in the game. Gilas fans, we are hours away from the matchup between Gilas Pilipinas and Lebanon in the 4th window of the FIBA World Cup Asian Qualifiers. Now joining us tonight to preview our national squad's game is the Big Chill, my brother Isaac. Welcome back to the game.
Thanks for having me and welcome back. You just were in Davao recently.
Yep, thank you. And we also have someone who's debuting here in the game.
Yes.
So.
Well, I'm honored to have this love team as the...
No. It's an honor to have the walking legend.
The walking legend, Isaac. Alright, let's move on to the topic here. Coming into this game, Isaac, Gilas Pilipinas is already 2-2 in the qualifying series. And alam naman natin na we are already assured of a spot in the World Cup because we're going to be hosting that here in the Philippines next year. That being said though, why is this game against Lebanon important?
With the goal of the World Cup in mind, every game, you don't have a lot of games really, and each game matters because it's building momentum, building chemistry, and not only that, it's now you're looking at players, how are they going to sit and feel in the grand scheme of things? Are these guys going to fit together? Who is going to make that roster?
Now, what would the win mean for Gilas Pilipinas? I mean, we're for sure going to the World Cup, but what would a win mean for the team?
First of all, confidence boost going to Saudi Arabia. We have another game. And I think it's more than that. The confidence will continue past this window because you have had a lot of struggling recently. And getting one win under your belt, especially with a rising team like Lebanon, is going to be a real morale booster.
Now, what's interesting here, Isaac, is that the Philippines and Lebanon already faced each other before. Unfortunately, Lebanon handing us a loss. So in your opinion, what makes them such a strong team and strong matchup for Gilas?
I think, first of all, they were one of the hotter teams going to that last tournament. They won basically almost every window game.
Yeah.
And it's just a timing of, with that team, I feel like it's just, they peaked at the right time. And now, but going into this matchup, we're bringing almost a completely different team. So now, how will the Lebanons adjust now? We got Jordan Clarkson and Kai Soto in there, and we have a bunch of PBA guys.
Yeah, we have a different team, but for Lebanon, it's the same team. And who do we have to look out for here, Sam?
Right. Now, you also mentioned, some important keys to winning for Gilas in this matchup against Lebanon. So who do you have for us, Isaac?
First of all, as much as they have guys who scored double figures in the last tournament, and we know that they're pretty solid, this team is going to live and die with Wael Arakji. Basically carry them to the finals, almost beat Australia.
Wow.
Averaged almost 22 points a game, and now he's averaging 16 points in these window games. Lebanon is going to live and die with him. And number 2 is, we're going to have to feed Jordan Clarkson, man. He is a guy who, unbelievable, NBA talent, 6th man of the year. We know what he can do. We have to give him the touches. We have to give him the space to operate. And lastly with that is, we have to hit shots. We have to be a supporting cast. Because I don't think Lebanon has anyone who can guard Jordan Clarkson one-on-one. So what they're probably going to do is they're going to send double teams. They're going to send 3rd, even 4th help defenders on him. So we know Jordan Clarkson can create. He will look for the open guys, and we just have to capitalize on these opportunities.
And going back to your points, right? Let's go back to Wael Arakji. How do you think Gilas Pilipinas should guard a guy like him who can score in 3 levels and all ways? The guy's a bucket, basically.
I think what's going to help versus the previous tournament now is we have shot blocks. We have Kai Soto, we have Japet Aguilar. Arakji shot 69%, if I'm not mistaken, in the previous Asia Cup in the paint. So that's going to be tough. And even he shot 73% from the free throw line, relatively that mid-range. And now we have had we have Jamie Malonzo, Calvin Oftana. Now these are longer defenders who can hopefully keep up with him with the speed. And it's going to make it tougher for him to hit these shots.
And, you know, back in our home soil, of course, we're getting an added boost as well in Jordan Clarkson. So, for you guys as players, I mean, what kind of, you know, morale-boosting effort is it to be playing with Jordan Clarkson, you know, sporting the same jersey as you guys?
I mean, he's an NBA talent, Isaac. Can you tell us a little bit more about, you know, what Jordan Clarkson can actually do for this Gilas team?
Man, honestly, first of all, if you're walking on the floor knowing that you got the best player,
Yeah.
man, that's a morale boost. You're like, we got the guy.
Yeah.
And we know Jordan Clarkson, the 3-level scorer. He can score from the 3, he can drive to the basket, mid-range pull-up, and I
Yeah.
think underrated skill. He can create. He's going to be able to have these wild passes, and we just gotta be ready and take advantage of it.
And how do you think we should set up a guy like Jordan Clarkson? Yes, for sure he's going to be able to create. We know he can do that in the NBA. That's his role. But how about the others? How can they create for a talent like Jordan Clarkson? I mean, he's a world-class talent, Isaac.
It's going to be reliant on the system, how the players take advantage, because Jordan Clarkson will have gravity on the ball and off the ball. I think the setters are always going to be looking, where is Jordan Clarkson? And we have to capitalize that and use him, because he can be a decoy. He can be using as a decoy and provide opportunities for the other guys to score.
And who do you think we should look out for? I mean, you know, we have a completely new, not a completely new roster, but new faces. Who do you think we should look out for in these next games?
Jordan Clarkson.
I mean, aside from Jordan Clarkson, maybe Kai Soto. I think he's playing, right?
Yeah, Kai Soto, I think we want to see. It'll be interesting to see how he has developed. He last played, I think, during the OQT.
Yeah.
And we know that he's gone through the draft process. He's gone through these developmental phase, and I think Filipino fans are interested to see and excited to see how much has he grown, and hopefully help us contribute to the win.
And Isaac, we'll still be having Isaac in the next segment. But for Gilas Pilipinas, if you guys want to watch that game versus Lebanon, it's gonna be tomorrow, August 26 at 2 a.m. So medyo puyatan team tayo dito.
Para sa bayan.
Para sa
Para sa
bayan,
bayan.
we have to, you know, sacrifice a little bit of sleep. As you can see on your screens right there, it's gonna be 2 a.m. on One Sports and 11:15 on TV5. And on Monday, against 7 p.m. and 11:15 p.m., Philippines will also play a game on August 29 on Monday. Again, Isaac, we'll still be having you after the break, right?
That's right. So don't go away, Isaac. You'll be with us in the next segment. So after the break, we'll list down the top 3 player matchups in the ongoing PBA Philippine Cup Final Series. Stay tuned. You're watching The Game.
Welcome back to the game. We're shifting gears on to the PBA Philippine Cup Finals with Game 2 ongoing between San Miguel Beermen and the TNT Tropang Giga. Currently, right now, San Miguel is leading against the TNT Tropang Giga in the third quarter, 67-63. TNT being led by RR Pogoy with 25 points. And for San Miguel, it's CJ Perez with 17. Now, as we look ahead to the rest of the series, we're still joined by Terra Firma Jeep big man and basketball analyst Isaac Go, Mr. Big Chill, still with us. And we're going to be talking about matchups. All right, you gave us 3-player matchups to watch out for in this final series. And Sam, what are we going to talk about first?
So let's start off with the veterans here in this matchup series. You've got Jason Castro and Chris Ross. What can you say about them, Isaac?
The reason why I put them together is, as you said, it's the veteran guards, those who have been there, done that type of guys. And we know that Chris Ross isn't the scoring guard, but he's a great lockdown defender. He will set up his teammates. And Jason Castro, on the other hand, still scoring really well, as evidenced by that game-winning jumper.
Yeah.
So these guys are, the amount of IQ and experience these both players have is amazing. And to see them go at it at one another, it's going to be an interesting chess match just between them.
That's right. And you know, as players, Isaac and Diego, what goes through your mind in crucial situations like that? I mean, hitting a game winner in such a crucial time of the conference.
Well, Isaac has a lot of experience with doing that, but I'm sure Jason has done...
Jason has more, man.
Yeah, he has a lot of experience in doing that. So, do you think, when you talk about Jason Castro and this TNT team, Jason is still the closer, although Mikey gets a lot of numbers when it comes to points?
Honestly, you have Mikey Williams on one side, Jason Castro on the other. Man, you can't go wrong with getting either of these guys in the last shot. And it gives Coach Chot and the coaching staff of Talk and Tech so much wiggle room, so much freedom that we can use Mikey Williams as a decoy. We can use Jason Castro as a decoy. Like, those are your decoys, man. You're like, man, that's a loaded squad.
And you mentioned that they have very different impacts on winning. Jason more of in the offensive side, but for Chris Ross, how important is he when he's trying to stop the other guards of TNT?
Man, like I never saw Chris Ross till we played him in a tune-up game, and I was surprised how actually tall he is. Like he has good size at the guard spot, and yet he has the quickness, he has the strength, and we can see, man, a guy who normally can't score doesn't survive long in this league, but with the way he's able to play defense, orchestrate the offense, he is someone that is very, very valuable.
Now, from point guards, now we move on to the wings. Sam, who do we have next?
All right, for your second matchup, you've got the Baby B, CJ Perez, and Mikey Williams.
Ooh, that's a tough matchup, Isaac.
Score. Now, when you got the older guys first, now here are the young up-and-coming guys, where you have Mikey and CJ, both dynamic scores, and I think in different ways. CJ prefers to attack the basket in transition, while Mikey loves to set up that pull-up jumper, and you can see with a multitude of crossovers and the elevation he gets, that is his preferred weapon.
And what kind of energy do they bring to their squads? Of course, we're talking about TNT and SMD.
Yeah.
Different, man, because like these two guys, you know that they're going to become the faces, especially when guys like Jason Castro and Chris Ross eventually start taking less load on offense and on leadership roles. They should both emerge as the faces of these franchises, and eventually they will be the ones that who will carry most of the load.
That's right. CJ Perez currently averaging almost 19 points per game, but all around also with 6.7 rebounds and 5.3 assists, but also does it on defense with 2.6 steals per game. Sometimes CJ is tasked to guard Mikey Williams. Do you think CJ is, one of the best two-way players now in the PBA?
I would have to say so, man, because you just named the production. That is incredible production.
Crazy.
At the same time, look, if you look at that Talk and Text roster, anyone you put out there, anyone he has to guard is a great option.
Yeah.
Roger Pagoy, Jason Castro, Mikey Williams. You have to guard any of these three guys. It's a challenge. So for CJ to be able to produce that kind of numbers is still amazing.
Now let's go on to the other player, Mikey Williams. How do you think is he doing in terms of trying to balance this team with Jason Castro and him being the main playmakers for their team?
I think the beauty of Mikey Williams is that he doesn't demand the ball a lot. He's okay with giving up the ball, letting the offense run, and when the ball comes back to him with 8 seconds, then he creates. So he's not up to like, okay, give me the ball and get out of the way. He's okay with Jason Castro here, Roger here, like spreading the wealth, and it's going to help him further down this series as we expect a 7-game series, man. It's going to get tougher and tougher. and being able to preserve even those little things will pay off.
That's right, and as they say, bilog ang bola. And I just want to talk about Mikey Williams in detail because he's not only making waves like in the local scene, but also he got the attention of Jordan Clarkson when he watched the PBA game, right? So I guess as a player, what kind of impact that does have that, an NBA player just noticed your game?
As I say, game recognizes game.
Yes,
and
sir.
Mikey Williams, I think Jordan Clarkson said that they've played each other in runs in the States. Mikey Williams also with the G League before. And word comes around, man, if you're a baller, you're a baller. And Jordan Clarkson recognizes game.
And talking about ballers, we came from the point guards to maybe the wings. Now we're going to the shooters, the snipers. Who do we have next, Sam?
All right, so for your third matchup, you've got R.R. Pogoy and Marshall Lassiter, and you call this the battle of the snipers.
Yes.
I like how I didn't pick any bigs, though. But in this case, we've known that spacing is very important. We have both sides having the respective ball-dominant players, and having a guy out there who can knock down threes to spread the defense is just a luxury and makes life for everyone easier.
And you saw those stats on your screens. R.R. Pogoy averaging 17.7 points per game, and Marshall Lassiter 12.2 points per game. But when you're in a team like San Miguel, you're really not gonna get a lot of touches because Junmar's there, CJ Perez is there. But when you talk about Marshall Lassiter compared to R.R. Pogoy, is there a difference with the way they get their shots? When I see Marshall, it's like more off the move or maybe off the kickouts of Junmar.
And I think that's where you see the difference. Talk and Text don't really have that inside gravity that like Junmar Fajardo. And I think that what is understated is Roger has a post game. Roger likes to post up these smaller guards when given the chance. Marshall typically reserves to be more outside threat so that he doesn't clog any more space and takes anyone's space from Junmar.
So is the reason why Junmar is not in any of your matchups here because no one can match up against him? Is that what you're saying? Or you can match up against him?
I will tell you right now, I think Junmar is the most unstoppable player in our league. No one person can stop. It's going to take a cumulative effort really just to even make him work.
Yeah, that's going to be something to look out for in this finals for sure. And thank you so much for your time, Isaac, for your insights. And, it's an honor to have you here, Big Chill.
It's an honor to have you guys as my host. First time hosting together, right?
Yep.
That's why, man. It's
Appreciate
couple
you.
goals. Couple goals.
Thanks, Isaac. And after the break, we'll talk about the bright spots in the Philippines match against China in the ABC Cup. Stay tuned. You're watching The Game. You're watching the game. The Philippines may have suffered a 3-set loss against China, but there was also a lot to be excited about. And to tell us more about this, let's bring in volleyball analyst Neil Flores. Hi, Neil.
Hi, Neil. Welcome back to the game.
Hi, Sam. Hi, Diego. It's nice to see you guys here on the show.
Ooh, thank you. Thank you.
I heard about the florist joke that you had here in the game. You have some flowers to do
I
today.
like the background also. Neil, now let's talk about the game last night. All right, so there were promising signs in the game last night. Obviously, Philippines lost to China 3 sets, but came close in the final 2 sets. Can you talk about what we can build upon from that game?
Well, first things first, Diego. China is number 4 in the entire world.
Wow.
They have won 5 championships here in the ABC Cup for women, and this isn't even their top guns dun sa roster nila. So I guess it wasn't surprising that they won that game against the Philippines, but we did challenge them. The set scores were 16, 22, and 20. So that's already a win in itself. And if there would be one key takeaway from that game, for our national team, it's really the team chemistry. Sobrang crucial niya in building our national team. So hopefully the federation also considers having an intact lineup in the future international tournaments na sasalihan pa natin.
That's right, Neil. And you talked about chemistry. We really saw the difference in that game. And of course, we saw Gia Morado de Guzman really coming in, lending her services for this national team squad. So what kind of impact did Gia bring in that game last night?
Oh, she delivered the greatest impact probably. I'm sure you guys are used to the saying that it's the same but different. I'm not saying that Kyle Negrito didn't do a good job against Vietnam. It's just that throughout the PVL Invitational Conference, throughout their training, si Gia na talaga yung setter ng Creamline Cool Smashers. So she knows the specific sets of their players well. That's why they actually bounced back big against China, even though they lost. But I would say that they played better compared to their first outing against Vietnam.
That's right, and this is not a new situation for Gia. She's represented the country many times, and she really set up, the offense well for Team Philippines in that game. Any spikers that really caught your attention, Neil?
I have 2, namely Gemma Galanza and Tots Carlos. First of all, let's talk about Tots Carlos. With Eliza Valdez out of their roster, the Philippines had to transfer Tots from the opposite side of the court to the outside hitter position. And she did struggle in that first game against Vietnam. Siguro it was jitters, but mainly it was because of her responsibility in passing. She had a target on her back, that's why she didn't shine on the offensive side of things. And she only had 9 points, and that's surprising for our PVL MVP. But she bounced back with 15 big points against China in that straight set defeat. Now, let's go to Gemma Galanza. Gemma Galanza, people would usually count her out in the international team because of her height, but she just showed how much she has improved in terms of her strategy in attacking. And I would say that Gemma Galanza is one of the smartest players on the court. She would know how to choose her angles well and identify the open spots in the opposite side of the court. And double digits din si Gemma. She had 13 against Vietnam and 11 against China.
And heart over height talaga tong si Gemma, no? But when we move on to the next games, I think it's going on right now. We're talking about Iran, right? It's going at 7 p.m. What can we expect from these games, and what does it mean? Talking about Iran and of course South Korea tomorrow at 7 p.m. What do these games mean for Team Philippines?
First of all, it's very important to be able to rack up at least one win because first of all, we want to enter the quarterfinals and Korea is still winless. So if we manage to pull off a win against a very young Korean team, there's a high probability of us joining in the next round of competition. But it doesn't get easy because if we take the number 4 spot in Pool A. We would be up against the number 1 team in Pool B. Most probably, Japan would be occupying that slot.
Ooh.
The number 2 in Pool B, most probably it would be Thailand. But again, we'll cross the bridge when we get there. For now, our focus would really be on Iran, then South Korea.
Right, and these national team athletes are gonna be, facing back-to-back games.
Oo,
So,
grabe, nakakapagod tong yung ginagawa ng mga
that's
Philippine athletes
right.
natin.
So Neil, do you think their preparation, let's say during the PBL conference, helped them for this type of situation wherein they have 3 consecutive games this week?
Yeah, definitely. It was already a tight schedule ng PBL. Think of this an extension of their season. And after the ABC, they would be prepping for the reinforced conference of the PBL. So wala talagang pahinga itong national team natin or yung club team ng Creamline Pool Smashers. But again, it's all part of their program in terms of conditioning na take into consideration na yan. And I'm sure during trainings, hindi na super heavy. For sure, they're just focusing on specific skill set. And if we want to make it to the next round of competition, and hopefully, di ba, maali mo naman, to the semifinals, we have to be able to adjust our blocking. I just have to make this point. Kasi when I saw the stat sheet, we weren't able to register any block point against China. So, and we had 7 against Vietnam. So that's something we have to work on if we want to win against Iran and South Korea.
That's right, Neil. And you mentioned about their program just being very solid. And I got to speak to some of the players and they said they're actually taking a lot of afternoon naps now.
Yep.
You're right, light na ang kanilang training, although 2 times a day per end. So let's see how that plays out for Team Philippines here in the ABC Cup. Neil, thank you so much for your time. And let's go back to the game on Iran happening now.
Thanks, Neil.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. I'm Sam Corrales.
Catch us weeknights here on One News, One Sports, and One Sports Plus. I'm Diego Dario, and this has been The Game.